Hello, and welcome to the session on research infrastructures, the engine of the European research area, creating knowledge hubs to address societal challenges. I'm Yannis Ioannidis, president of the Athena Research Center, professor of informatics and telecom at the University of Athens, and the vice chair of ESFRI, the European Strategy Forum for Research Infrastructures. The purpose of the session is to see how research infrastructures can affect the European research area. A rich European ecosystem of research infrastructures is a key element for delivering the European research area. The ecosystem that we have developed in Europe allows data, people, and resources to be connected no matter where they are located. This way, providing everyone the ability to have knowledge hubs and interdisciplinary work. This way, I had echo, but now it's gone. The main objective is to show that research infrastructures cannot serve for blue sky research, but also have a great impact on major societal challenges like COVID-19, the climate change, and others. The session will work in two parts. The first part will have discussion on broad research infrastructure policies, and then we'll go into the second part and have some more practical examples on impact and immediately recognizable societal challenges and how we can address them. Throughout the session, we have an overarching question that we want to ask the audience and want to hear their opinion on. And the guiding question is the following: what opportunities do you see in the next few years for research infrastructures to address increasingly pressing global societal challenges within a renewed European research area? Please highlight your answers to this question on the Hub livestream chat that is to the right of your screen. All other questions that you may have on what we're discussing in this session, please put them in the Slido tool, which is at the bottom of your screen. And the most popular of these questions will be asked to the panelists later on. Also, let me remind you of lots of multimedia materials that are at the front desk of Hub 1 Policy and Hub 7 International Cooperation. Now let me introduce the three panelists. It's a dream team for a panel on the topic of research infrastructures within the era. We have Jean-Éric Paquet, the Director General of DG RTD, Research and Innovation. We have Karina Angelieva, Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Bulgaria, and John Wormsley, the Director General of the European Spallation Source in Sweden, and also the Chair of the ERIC Forum. So, moving ahead, we're going into the first part and want to ask Ms. Angelieva, where do we stand today in terms of research infrastructure policies? What do you think are the objectives and the impact of the policies that we have now, and what should change next? Please.
Thank you, Anis. It's a great honor to be in this panel and even to talk before the Director General. Hello, Jean-Éric. Pleasure to be in one panel with you. I'm even more happy to be on this panel because I'm a huge believer and supporter of research infrastructure as the core of the research and innovation ecosystem, and with much larger impact basically on the overall society and the economy. And the proof of this is even let's say a country like Bulgaria, who is lagging behind in innovation scoreboard, but in the same time, it took us basically only 10 years to have a mature research infrastructure roadmap, to be part of the international community, and today to join 10 ERICs. I have to tell you that these 10 years of structural reforms, of severe transformation from post-communism to the modern European family, if we didn't have in the core of the agenda the research infrastructures as a label, as a model, and moreover as a standard of excellent research, I'm not sure we will be able to be where we are. Of course, it's very important now because I believe that not everything is roses. I think we worked a lot and very hard in S3, and S3 basically support a lot of member states. But at the end of the day, and the elephant in the room is investment. And the member states' investments in research, including research infrastructure, because it's a costly action. And here is where, of course, we have to reconsider what is the best in mixing national funding, also using structural funds, and in order to support lots of research, excellent infrastructures in the periphery of Europe. We are investing already on this through a huge bulk of national money. But of course, we have much more to intervene and to support with other measures. For me, the next very important research policy that we should reconsider, and this is very important to the market, is basically to use the research infrastructure's experience in data and using data so that really to launch successfully the European Open Science Cloud. And last but not least, we are not talking about another challenges. We are talking about COVID, about climate. I agree with this. But we also have a huge challenge linked to skills and to the transformation of the whole economy and basically the automatization of the economy. We really need also a very, very highly technological skills nowadays. And the research infrastructure basically are also the knowledge hub, not only for the companies, but also for the universities, where they can scale up and upgrade the skills of young researchers. So for me, the research infrastructure should be into the core of the revamped European research area. And basically, I think that we have to use this a model, if I can challenge now a bit, and to replicate S3 in other areas. We already have the EAC forum, and I believe it will help a lot to scale up policies and to merge ideas, but we also need this in other spheres, such as ERC could take, for example, experience. So I think it's extremely important to keep what we have, but now to start openly to talk about long-term sustainability and investments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent points. Now let me go to Mr. Paquet. What are the main ideas behind the renewed European research area as it has been conceived? And what do you think is the role of research infrastructures in it?
Thank you very much, Karina, John. Hi, it's a pleasure to be with you. I will be quite short because I need to jump in and out of the session. I will come back and maybe complete afterwards. What I would like to say is, firstly, that Europe's research infrastructures are absolutely amazing and are the reason why the best science in the world is happening in Europe. And we need to continue to nurture that. We need to continue collectively to invest into these amazing infrastructures, and we need collectively to ensure that the best scientists, all scientists in Europe, have access to these infrastructures. And that, I think, is very much what we need to promote also in the renewed European research area. And this is also very much what S3, and Karina said it, S3 is one of the key actors of the European research area governance, is delivering really impactfully. The S3 roadmap has been a game changer, is really to be strongly supported and brought to the next level. Now, in the European research area, what we also hope to see is that Europe's research and Europe's science, research and innovation outcomes serves better public policies, serves our citizens, allows our economies to really drive the digital and green transformations, and out of COVID-19, build a more resilient Europe. So research infrastructures in that renewed European research area are more than excellent science providers. They need to become real actors of Europe's research, help us make choices in research, connect to our missions, our Horizon Europe missions and our partnership, and allow indeed industry to make a real difference in these transformations. So we have high expectations from research infrastructures, and I'm sure that during the panel now we will have interesting ideas coming forward, and they can then find their way in the member states and the European institutions, European research area policy. There'll be a paper from the Commission in the next few days, and then a lot of work with Carina and her peers to really ensure that this European research area allows Europe to move in these transformations towards resilience with new infrastructures. I leave a second, Yanis, but I'll be back in a short moment for the second part of the conversation. Apologies for having to go for a minute. À tout de suite.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great points. And now let me try to answer what is the role of ESFRI, the European Strategy Forum for Research Infrastructures, in making science happen. Now you may ask, what is making science happen? Well, making science happen is the title of a white paper that ESFRI produced that shows the vision and the new ambition for research infrastructures in the European research area. ESFRI and the European research infrastructures have been a key pillar of the era since the very beginning of its formation 18 years ago. And since then, it has really transformed the ability of European researchers to advance science, to produce knowledge. And more than 50 European research infrastructures have been developed, and that represent approximately 20 billion euros of investment. Now, besides allowing researchers in Europe to do the greatest science that could be, now there is particular new emphasis based on the policy context that the new era is giving on environmental, social, and economic goals. And this, in order for this to be achieved, research infrastructures activities need to be changed, enhanced, not changed, but enhanced. And research infrastructures have to move and are moving towards wider policy objectives, such as increasing Europe's competitiveness, identifying significant solutions to global challenges. The vision that ESFRI is imagining is to have a consolidated European ecosystem of research infrastructures that underpin the European research area and offer cross-disciplinary, integrated, harmonized services, and enabling the users, the scientists, the researchers, both to pursue the greatest of scientific challenges and generate new knowledge, but also to maximize their impact on the most pressing of global societal challenges and the everyday life of European citizens. So the vision is intimately related to a bunch of objectives. First of all, to increase investments, to strengthen the investments in creating this ecosystem of European research infrastructures, but also in implementing this vision, it requires to serve the policies underpinning the triangle of knowledge. Research, retain the absolute edge globally on research novelty and breakthroughs, and create the attractiveness of the era and the European research infrastructures to researchers globally. Innovation, to accelerate the transformation of research infrastructures in knowledge and innovation hubs, influencing industry. Education, to train students, young academics, and industrial scientists, not only on individual technologies and interdisciplinary methodologies, but also on data management skills and entrepreneurial skills. And of course, policies. European, national, and regional priorities and policies for research infrastructures should be aligned. Inclusiveness of the era, and also synergies with other European policies, regional development, environmental sustainability, health, and well-being. And last but not least, data. Lots of research is about data. So the vision of ESFRI is to exploit the data science and data engineering expertise of research infrastructures for the development of the EU's European Open Science Cloud. Achieving this vision will require to strengthen the partnership within the era among member states, the European Commission, and the scientific community, and underpin the increased effectiveness and strategic leadership of ESFRI. So this is how ESFRI is supposed to help. And now I'm changing the hat, and I'm going to you, Mr. Wormsley. How does the ERIC instrument fit in this framework? Okay, we've lost John. So let's go into part two. John is back. John is back. John, can you hear us?
Yes, John is back, and I can hear you very well. Yes.
Excellent. So the question to you is, how does the ERIC instrument?
So why do we need ERIC? Exactly. So we need ERICs to support strategic investments in scientific excellence. The research infrastructure which have been identified by ESFRI, as Jan has just described, provide access to data sets and capabilities that go beyond what any single institution can deliver. And as such, they're an essential pillar of the European research area. They act as knowledge and innovation hubs and form part of a coherent research ecosystem capable of addressing the major interdisciplinary challenges facing Europe. And they also have a key role as generators and curators and libraries of large data sets to help promote open science and open data through the European Open Science Cloud. So the role of the ERIC regulation is to provide a simple, straightforward legal framework to allow these kind of research infrastructures to be established. And there has been a fast growth of the ERIC community since the legal framework was introduced in 2009. The ERIC Forum, which I have the privilege of chairing, brings together 21 ERICs and 11 preparatory phase projects with host seats in 10 different European countries. They cover all the 5 scientific domains of the ESFRI roadmap, from social sciences and culture through physical sciences, energy, environment, health, and food. Each ERIC has typically 12 member countries, with a distributed structure being very typical. The ERICs are critical to the successful implementation of the ERA because they serve as pillars of scientific excellence throughout all the member states of the Commission and of the community and the associated countries. The only challenge that I can highlight in the regulation is that the take-up and understanding of what an ERIC means in some member states is not yet fully mature. And we are, my member organizations tell me that they are still in the process of educating national governments about what an ERIC is and how it works. So an ERIC is a straightforward way to create a pan-European research infrastructure. And the ERICs that are already established are playing a critical role to the successful implementation of the renewed era and to the delivery of solutions to the key missions and challenges which have been identified as priorities in Horizon Europe. Thanks.
Thank you very much, John. And having finished a cycle of 4 questions, 1 for each panelist, we've done with the first part. And now we move to the second part, whose goal is to go into more specifics, more practical evidence, more practical examples of how research infrastructures have had an impact on societal challenges. And I will start with Karina Angelieva again. And regarding research infrastructures and their impact, do you have an example of a research infrastructure where Bulgaria, for example, is involved, that has delivered crucial results for addressing some critical societal challenge? Ms. Angelieva.
Thank you, Yanis. And just to clarify to the audience, of course, that we prepared this session. I mean, we were looking together, all of us, and I knew about this question. So I decided, that somehow to surprise you, maybe to prepare something. I know we are talking only for COVID-19 recently because we have just experienced this quite unpleasant challenge. And I don't think it's necessary to prove to you that the research infrastructures was the first to be able to foster research in this area because they had exactly the infrastructure, the services, and the network. So our teams from Europe Bioimaging and in the biobankings, the BBMRI, they are working together. But what they're working. And they basically also, they're not only working together on COVID research and pressure rising quicker trials and gathering patient data, but basically they also disclose the first problems that appeared in the area. And this is very important. They wave the flag to politicians, to stakeholders, to other relevant users, such as hospitals, that we have much, much, much more to do, because not in every member state, not in every region, the data and access to data is standardized or can be used. But this is, I think, very maybe known to our audience. So I wanted to share with you that I'm really super intrigued, because in the beginning of September, have been structured a new research infrastructure. Maybe it's the newest, or I don't know, something. Yanis, maybe you afterwards say really, but the resilience infrastructure. I don't know if we have humanitarians and people from the social background in our audience, but the resilience infrastructure is research infrastructure on religious studies. And I think what more impactful nowadays, what more as a kind of a, flagship, as a signal also to the society, to the young generation, but also to the politicians. And this to join, the best minds, but also research teams that worked together many years, but they created also a lot of knowledge and services in this area. Finally, to get together in one club, I think this can also give an amazing signal and can really support European science diplomacy in the world. Not to go more now into religious things. And the other example I wanted to share with you, because I think we didn't touch upon this, is about the importance of research infrastructure. I told you how important are the ecosystem. Doesn't matter they're virtual or they are cited. For me, is both very important, especially those that are part of a bigger pan-European research infrastructure, but they have a node in the country. So I'll give you an example with one of my favorites, the Astronomical Research Observatory based in Rosen Mountain. And now we are going to build there the site, our node, as part of WOFAR, which basically is a pan-European research infrastructure for astronomical observations at radio frequencies. It's amazing. I mean, the whole, the village around this observatory, the mayor knows about this. The people are intrigued that they'll be part of a global picture, not to tell about that it sounds maybe, far away astronomical research, but it's very much linked to engaging local engineers, technician capacities, and companies such as the telecoms. So the impact can be very, very big. And what is the beauty of research infrastructures? And as a politician, I want to talk about this, is that we don't need to bond research infrastructures to some pressing challenges. They should be open for any emerging fields. Thank you.
Excellent, Karina. You presented a suite of different ideas and what influence on societal challenges can happen. And I think it is characteristic that you started from one that is on social innovation and the humanities, which sometimes science takes the first stage, but the social sciences and the humanities are critical in addressing societal challenges. And thank you very much for reminding us of that with your resilience example. It's well on its way to becoming a necessary research infrastructure. So going now to the second question, and this is addressed to John. What is the position of the ERIC Forum on the same question? Do you have any examples of ERICs that have been devoting time, resources, people, and in any case, significant effort on some major societal challenge?
Yes, thank you, Yanis. And of course, thanks, Karina, for mentioning a couple of Eric's already in your examples. The first and most timely example is COVID-19 research, of course. 15 Erics have come together to set up, plan, and implement various initiatives in response to the coronavirus outbreak. Capabilities that they bring span everything from biobanking, social sciences, as Yanis said, data on health and well-being, fast and prioritized.
In that case, since we don't have John and Jean-Eric is not back, let me try to go back into an S3 question, the question I was supposed to answer. How is S3 balancing between moving towards a more service-oriented and impact-oriented mentality for research infrastructures, while at the same time maintaining the principles of scientific excellence for European research infrastructures? Well, I will use, no surprise, COVID-19, because it's the most recent example, and Eric was going to allude, John was going to allude to that. But in any case, it was amazing how S3 research infrastructures reacted to the pandemic, not only working on their own field, but primarily coordinating together, coming up with ingenious ways to address the challenge, supporting the development of diagnostic tools and a vaccine, but also addressing the economic and social damage that was coming. The key thing was that they forgot all the rules and regulations and policies of access. They went beyond the call of duty to help academics and industry to keep up operations while they had to keep all safety measures, but still to be working and having all their instruments ready in advance to help scientists for this, and have specific quick access programs for people asking access to the research infrastructures. And not only on their operation, of the individual operation, but also their cooperation was amazing. They all came together to demonstrate clearly across scientific fields, because to address COVID-19 is just as medicine, to create frameworks for cooperation, respond to emergencies. They created frameworks that will last beyond COVID-19. They are ready, multi-sector, cross-border, multidisciplinary collaborations to be made in a way much faster for the next societal or medical or environmental challenge that we are going to face. And already there are groups of research infrastructures that are taking advantage and have taken advantage of the last calls of Horizon 2020 and are preparing for Horizon Europe, thinking of the European Green Deal, Horizon Europe missions, and so on. And also addressing, getting ready for specific crises. And may I say that the mentality of research infrastructures, especially the S3 research infrastructures, has been changing. The dedication to society, which was always there, has been reinforced. By addressing societal challenges, contribute significantly also to the economic and the social recovery after the pandemic. So they look for the long term and play crucial roles in education, industrial development, and innovation. But all this cannot happen magically. The need for coordination. There's still fragmentation in policies among member states, among nations, on access, health, hindering further collaboration. And this needs to be changed. And in this way, let me wrap up. Coordination, investment, aligning policies, sustainability, and internationalization. We need to link within Europe more stronger, but also internationally with organizations like the WHO, FAO, CDC, and so on. Now, Jean-Eric is back and John is back, so I will give the floor to Jean-Eric. And if he could answer, again, we are in the practical questions. How does the Commission assess the impact that European research infrastructures had on the economy? Jean-Eric. Okay, I'm informed that Jean-Eric he had to leave at exactly 1 p.m. I guess we weren't able to catch up. So John, you're up as the last but not least question of this part and the set of questions.
Okay.
What is the position of Eric? You were talking, so pick up from where you left off or remind us.
I was. So I will be brief. As you can see, I have somewhat unreliable internet connection today. So as Yanis already said, the ERIC infrastructures really did an excellent job to come together in response to the COVID emergency and brought to bear capabilities all the way from social sciences and humanities to analytic models, understanding the physical structure of the virus, supporting services to clinical trials, screening campaigns, and epidemiology modeling. And this has had a big positive impact, both on our ability to respond to the challenge, the scientific and social challenges posed by the virus, but also, as Yanis said, in serving as an example for how this research capability can come together and work coherently as a single ecosystem. In my own case at ESS, even though we're not yet delivering science to the broad European user community, we have some laboratory capabilities for the production of specialist samples, and we have made those available in a collaboration with the University College London School of Pharmacy and Lund University. And so ESS scientists are already contributing to this research, and I'm really proud that they're able to do so. You can find more details of what the ERICs have done in response to COVID-19 on the ERIC Forum website. And as more broadly said, the ERIC feel that we have a huge role to play in addressing all of the challenges facing Europe, both research challenges and societal challenges, economic issues like industrial competitiveness and recovery. The ERICs together address all the Horizon Europe mission areas: cancer, climate change, including societal transformation, healthy oceans and seas, climate neutral and smart cities, and soil health and food. And we've produced a position paper, which again you can find on the ERIC Forum website, explaining these connections. So we look forward really to contributing strongly to the missions and challenges that have been identified by the Commission for Horizon Europe. We also know that ERICs can play a really big role in stimulating innovation. In my own project, we've just completed an impact study in collaboration with our Horizon 20 project Brightness. And we looked at the in-kind contributions from member countries to ESS. And we found that only 1/3 of these were off components. Roughly 1/3 required new features or new R&D, and the remaining third were entirely new and innovative products and services. So this is a big impact on new inventions and new technologies that can then go on to have a wider impact in the economy. And it's happening all across Europe because these are in-kind contributions from the member states to ESS. So to wrap up my input here, now is a time for research infrastructures. They have demonstrated the importance of this kind of research capability in response to COVID-19. And we want to play a central role in the recovery from COVID-19 and driving the economic change that we want to see as part of that recovery. There is consent that investment infrastructure is a smart thing to do at times like this because we are building for the future. And investment in research infrastructure is particularly timely. The epidemic has shown the need for and value of research capacity to address unexpected challenges. It's shown that research infrastructures with their large data sets and the cutting edge capabilities have a key role to play. And as we think about rebuild our industrial capabilities with a different model where globalized supplies are no longer attractive and a low carbon knowledge base is the way we need to go, then research and innovation and research infrastructures are key. And we in the ERIC Forum are enthusiastic to play up in that transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. And this wraps up the predefined questions. And now we move to a great fun part. Your questions, the audience's questions. And you have put up a lot of them, some of them ingenious, amazing. And we have 10 minutes to wrap up this session with the panelists addressing them. And let me start with by far the top one, the most popular one, which I really, really like. So if research infrastructures are the engine of the European research area, what about the fact that this engine does not get enough fuel in Horizon Europe? I wish Jan-Erik was with us, but nevertheless, Karina and John, take this up. More funding. Why don't we have enough funds?
Oh, I understand. And this is difficult and not so difficult question. I want to clarify something for our audience. And now I understand that somehow we accept research infrastructure as a given. You know, all the panelists here, we know what it is about. But there are also some unknown aspects or aspects that very often my stakeholders don't think about them. Research infrastructure is really and should be also a national strive, a national investment initiative. Basically, this is the biggest also pressure for national governments, because we also should support, fund, and reform our system. And basically, we are funding under the national budget our research infrastructure roadmap. And I think it's now a crucial moment that, of course, we also try to use structure funds money, because at the end of the day, we want to invest more in research infrastructures and not necessarily to create new research centers that are not linked or connected. I think that this is really a dialogue. It's a very difficult debate. I know that many people won't like what I'm saying, but at the end of the day, we need to make a jump. We don't have a time for a slow transformation. And for me, what you heard very well from John, from Yanis, from Jan-Erik, we have all the ingredients of research infrastructure, but the best ingredient there is the transnational cooperation, trust, and excellent facilities. So that's why I don't think it's enough, the funding under this pillar. But we are there funding pre-designed research, we are investing in future research infrastructures. But the building and the deployment, of course, mainly should come from the member states. And hopefully we'll use some structural funds money. But it doesn't mean that we did yet our job. We are still in negotiations and designing. What I see as potentially crucial is basically to have more involvement of research infrastructures in the second pillar, under the clusters, to have devoted Marie Curie fellows, to foster them to use research infrastructures, and so on and so forth. So there is much more money around, but we should understand that we should put the focus on the research infrastructures, and this is our own job. The politicians only can do this. Without the researchers and the managers and joint collaboration with the Commission services and member states, no, we should do it together. So there is money, but how to focus them on the important things.
Thank you, Karina. Since John it's just the two of us now, so we tango, you and I. Let me say I absolutely agree with you that. Okay, so let me wrap up, and then we can go to John to this question. I agree with you. There is enough money. There are resources, but they're all fragmented, and the various communities that have to be involved, the policymakers, the scientists, and the wider public. I mean, let's not forget that this session has as a goal to inform the wider public about the role of research infrastructures, should be informed so that they can support their politicians, to interact with the scientists, and have better use of research infrastructures, because the fuel is there, but it stays in the tanks and doesn't go into the engine, and we have to work on that. John, any opinion on this most popular question?
Yes, I was going to remark that in designing Horizon Europe, there's been a focus on identifying challenges and missions that are linked to the challenges facing Europe in the next 7 years. And the pillars associated with those missions and challenges and with industrial innovation have quite generous resources. Unfortunately, as commenters have noted, the support for basic research has not substantially increased. So I think we in the research infrastructure community need to learn to interact very strongly with those other pillars of Horizon Europe, with the support for missions and challenge-based research, things like climate change and climate neutral society, and industrial competitiveness and innovation. And we need to form a broad coalition then with industrial users, with the drivers of those research programs to deliver. And the other area where I wanted to support what Karina had said is making sure that national agencies, national governments, and the agencies making decisions about the regional development funding and structural funding make sure that they see research infrastructures as an excellent investment. We are providing capabilities that go beyond any single can provide. The most cost-effective way for a national funding agency to provide access for their scientists to this capability. So I think that the pan-European research infrastructures are a very good investment for national funders, but they are perhaps so familiar and perhaps used to investing in this way. So we have an educational job to do there. But I think the logic and the arguments are very strong.
Great. Thanks, John. We have 3 minutes, so I would like a 1-minute vignette from each of you on the second question. How would you like research infrastructures to support the Horizon Europe missions? How should these two pillars of Horizon Europe be connected? 1 minute each, please. Karina, first.
Okay. I said it already, but I don't mind to repeat. The research infrastructures are the backbone. I really can't imagine how you realize the missions if they don't step upon the research infrastructures. We have them. We can work more on some services or access, but we have the backbone. The missions are very good too, because they foster attention, they diffuse knowledge, but my hope is that they also will impact national regulations. And of course, at the end of the day, they will really have impact on the citizens. But the missions doesn't necessarily mean that we should invest in new infrastructure, total new tools, you know. We have the infrastructures, we have the tools. We should now foster these missions to see how they will be. There are two problems there. One of them, of course, is how we involve the national stakeholders who has to implement then changes in the regulatory framework or sometimes in the mindset. But the backbone is research infrastructure. I said it. And this is maybe not evident now in our discussions, but there is much more work to do. So I hope we will work on this.
Thank you. John, 15 seconds. A 15-second answer. We are wrapping up.
Coordination is the key.
Okay.
We need a coordinated program. We cannot have individual scientists need to find their own data through the research infrastructures. We want to work in a coherent way with missions and challenges.
Excellent. I want to thank very much Karina, John, and Jan-Erik, and all the audience for your great participation in the questions. Thank you very much. Research infrastructure in the European research area, a major pillar. Thank you.